Hello, everyone. This is Chala Dinkoy, CEO and founder of The Repositioning Expert. We're here with another episode of the podcast Naked Marketing, where we get naked and honest about our mistakes in marketing. Welcome, Beate, Chelette.
Thank you so much, Chala. I'm so excited to see you again.
Yes, I know. So you have to tell me, you've been a WBE. We met folks through the Diversity Women Business Owned Diversity organizing group called WeBank. And so how long had you been a WBE?
I've probably been part of the organization, I want to say about 5-6 years now. And I go to the events, when we can go to events and make sure that you are meeting other experts like you and you listen. Even though I'm a strategist and I do a lot of branding and marketing and consulting, but you always learn something new. So I'm so excited to be here because I know your stuff.
That's great. Oh, this is great. So tell us what you do, and you kind of did, but tell us what you do and who you help.
Yes. So my specialty is I'm known as the growth architect, and I have the tag, the growth architect, because everything I do is around devising strategies for growth planning, optimal alignment, blueprints, and helping visionaries and leaders to map out their path to make their impact in the world. And I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who are just right there at the cusp between business leader and business ownership, because there's a part where you're an owner and then you have to step into leadership, and they're seeing, this rapid growth is happening, and now they need to have a strategy on how to grow their business. I work also with people who are considering setting their business up for acquisition, because you have to set it up a little bit differently when you want to be acquired and, create the value along the lines. I work with teams, also with some corporations that have the same thing, where the team needs to come together and really map out a strategy and how they can be more successful.
Wow. I mean, so there's so many growth strategists. So it's so great to meet different ones because everybody attacks it from a different angle. Like I attack it from repositioning and remessaging. So what is your angle?
So my angle, sort of my super sweet spot, is superpower, zone of genius, super skill, really is that when I hear someone talk about his or her business, in my brain, it immediately takes it into a system. Because a lot of times what we see with business owners is, I call this the knowledge vomit, Chala. And so when they see someone and they know exactly what the business needs, and then they just vomit all their knowledge on this poor person, and then they're completely overwhelmed and don't know what to do. So in my head, I immediately, when they say, well, this is what I do, I say, well, take me through the process. And so I say, so this is the first step, that's the second, that's the third, that's the fourth, that's the fifth. And they go like, how'd you know that? I said, well, because that's how I hear what you do. And then I help them to create their own system formula so that they can say, okay, and the entry level, I work with my client on this piece. And then it's designed in such a way that when they have done this particular piece, automatically they're going to say, well, but now I need to know how to do this, which happens to be the second piece. And then when they mastered that, then automatically they say, well, but now that I have the idea, now that I've figured out my offer, how do I build systems around it? And then now that I have the idea, the offer, and the systems, now I need the team, and so I designed this 5-star success blueprint that helps to take them through that. And I help them devise these steps for their own business.
So how did you come by this? Like, did you one day wake up with this gift, or did it develop through working for large corporations like I did? Like, where did it come from?
I think it just came, I think I've always had that because it's my skill, but I never really thought so much of it until I, really joined WeBank. And you see how many other business owners are struggling to articulate what they do and then say, well, in step 1, step 2, step 3, these are the different phases, elements, pillars, that I take my clients through to achieve their goal. So I looked at that, and for me, it was always so clear. And I was amazed that they couldn't figure it out on their own. And that, as we know in marketing, If something is so easy that you don't know why other people don't know it, that's going to be your zone of genius. That's your super skill. And you have to build your business around it. And then when I did, and I did more and more and more of it, I realized how easy this is for me and how most other people just don't know how to do that.
So did you have a marketing background before, or you just came into it from being an entrepreneur?
My only degree, Chala, is being a photographer. So that's my actual, my actual degree. But I've set up, I was always better at the business behind things. So I worked for Elle Magazine in Germany when they were a startup. I set up their business. So every company I've ever been in was really a startup. And so eventually I said, well, that seems to be so natural to me that now I'm going to help other people to set up their own systems.
Wow, that's amazing. You look more like a model than a photographer. So something went wrong there, but you're on the wrong side. But that's awesome. So being like a business growth person, I love asking this question is, how do you find your clients? Like, how do your clients come to you?
So it's really interesting because there is so many different things that go into it, right? So people say, well, the Instagram strategy, the YouTube strategy, the LinkedIn strategy. So what we do is we actually identified the places where our clients are. So our clients are on LinkedIn. So we have someone we work with on a LinkedIn strategy. So that strategy is where we are doing the outreach, the connection, and then we invite them in an executive roundtable. And then from the executive roundtable, then there is the follow-up to the personal conversation, to the needs discovery conversation, to then hopefully the close. Then we just hired someone to do an Instagram strategy, and that is going to be for younger entrepreneurs that are making the money but have no idea about the business and working themselves on the ground because they have no idea how to build a structure. So we're just launching that. Our third strategy is a YouTube strategy, which was successful until YouTube decided that I am an angry, poorly aging feminist, and they need to put my content in front of a bunch of angry men going through horrible divorces and not seeing their children and paying. And I have since received death threats and, and been called every name on the planet. And so suddenly that strategy just took a horrible turn, and I can't get out of the AI classification as an angry feminist. I mean,
I can't believe it. How does that happen? Somebody actually writes that? Like somebody puts that as a classification, or how does it work?
Well, artificial intelligence measures engagement, and we've seen this in the election, and we see this with a lot of the misinformation on social media and the news. And so what happens is that one person in one of these groups found my video as a suggested video, and then did a 20-minute video on a 3-minute video of mine. I did a 3-minute video. They did a 20-minute video on my 3-minute video. So you can only imagine how much they had to say about that. That person happened to have a lot of followers in that category, who then stormed to my website and my YouTube channel and were engaging heavily. So artificial intelligence reads this as, oh, great engagement. And so they send me more of that particular type of person. So in marketing, that's what you really have to be clear about these days, that even though your marketing efforts technically are successful because you get the traffic and you get the engagement, it may completely backfire.
But what was your video about?
It was about women empowerment, about women standing up for themselves and women being successful and women making their own money. I mean, really controversial stuff.
That's not controversial.
I mean, that's my point, right? But so, so I did a video, just to give you an example, I did a video on tips for single moms because I was a single mom entrepreneur. And then people go and they say single mothers are the worst. They are, and they just go at how terrible single moms are, because once the woman left that person, right? She is now a single mom. So they took that video to vent all their frustration at their ex-wife.
Oh my God.
Even though it had nothing to do with what they were talking about. This was about women and saying, hey, it's going to get better. Just stick with it. You know, there's hard times, but you have to focus on your priorities. You have to set priorities. You know, you just push on. And I'm very pro men, but it just shows you that in marketing and, you know, and for the purpose of your podcast,
Yeah.
not all measures are going to be successful, even when they are meant in the right way.
But I mean, I think this brings us to your naked marketing. And thank you for being so naked, by the way, of what you were saying is running ads without understanding the platform. So tell us about that mistake that, I mean, is it related kind of to understanding the platform and, you know, or is it completely unrelated? Was this a different time and different mistake?
Well, it is related. So you have to think about it from this perspective. So you now have a video that has a lot of views, which is in the eyes of YouTube really, really good. Yeah. So the chances of this video that has a lot of views to be put in front of more viewers when you put money behind it is obviously a no-brainer. But if this video gets you death threats,
not good.
And it's calling you every name on the planet, and suddenly all your engagement is going into a direction where you'll never, ever get a client. You think somebody like that's going to hire me to do their business plan when we have a blue collar guy in London who, you know, drives a truck. You think he's going to hire me? Obviously not my client, but YouTube doesn't know that. So you have to be very clear before you run ads and you put any money behind this, is that that money goes toward a video or a subject that actually brings you the type of clients that will pay your bills and not just get you engagement, because the engagement may not turn into money. And then you takes your business in a different direction.
Absolutely. And what a time suck and a resource and energy and
horrible.
For sure. So, what do you recommend? Like, what has worked for you in terms of marketing?
So what really has worked for me is LinkedIn. Okay. And I've been on LinkedIn for a long time. I have a group on LinkedIn called Entrepreneur and Small Business Forum with over 60,000 people in it now. And I've been doing that for 10 years. You know, I've been one of the first groups ever started on LinkedIn, and really building these kinds of relationships. So LinkedIn professional connections, that's really worked for me in just building the relationship. Networking through organizations like WeBank has worked, you know, very much like you. I've spoken at these events about these types of strategies. And then when people hear you speak, they come to you and they say, well, that resonated with me. And then developing programs that are specific to you know, these issues that, you know, this particular group has. So that's worked really well. Now I'm part of, you know, being here today is part of my podcast strategy. So my goal is for this year to be on 100 podcasts. Nice. Because I wanted to get my message out to more people, to get them to the Airtight Avatar, my lead generation piece, which is how to find really good clients. So, you know, you can check it out at airtightavatar.com. And then, you know, from there on, mapping out what's the follow-up strategy, what do I want them to do from there. That's been really successful. And the other one that we are, you know, YouTube worked until it didn't. So that's been sidelined right now until we can figure out how we get out of the classification. And then a lot of speaking, really speaking's been my most powerful way to get my clients, but that's been difficult in COVID. Because as a paid speaker, you don't really get paid the same amount. I mean, that's at least my experience, to be on a Zoom call versus live on stage that you travel to and you show up. So there were some adjustments to be made on that. But so again, so speaking, networking events, LinkedIn, and I believe Instagram will be another one of our methods. And we keep adjusting it. I mean, it works for a while and then it doesn't, and then you have to make changes.
So who is the avatar? What size of business are they? I think you said there are some of them are startups. And then like, where does it, what's the sweet spot for you?
My sweet spot's really people that are around the 500,000 and they want to get to the $1 million or above. So I'm also a mentor at the entrepreneur organization for the accelerators, which I absolutely love. And really people that are very serious about seeing the growth in their business, and they want to set up a business, not just a solopreneur business, but they want to run a business. So that's my sweet spot. So I work with a lot of consultants, other coaches, even though I don't really consider myself a coach. I'm really more of a strategist. I always say jokingly, I don't have time for coaching, but it's just really part of it. And I work with people that have brick and mortar shops that, are also at that place, or online stores. I've worked with people in the medical field that have, that do consulting in that area. It's lots of creatives, photographers. So it really depends on, I think, the person's ambition. They have to be a visionary. They want to be leading and making a big impact in their lives. That's my avatar. Anyone that has that drive.
I love to hear how you're using all the social media, because except for LinkedIn, I have the same, the target is the revenue, but mine's B2B service based, but I have not found any of the other social media platforms to be a good place to meet them. So my hat's off to you if you're finding them on those networks, on those platforms.
You have to hire somebody who's specialized in that particular niche. There's no way that, I'm over 50. So it's not exactly like I'm the young hot thing in an oversized sweater with a glass of Cabernet sitting in my kitchen telling people that in only 4 hours a week they can make $10,000. That's not my brand.
I bet you'd look good in it though.
I have tried, yes, but my brand is not about the dream, Chala. My brand is about the tools, very much like yours. You're all about tools. I remember you speaking and you giving your hand out and having people walk away with tangible items, right? So that's just who we are. But the trick is to find someone who really knows this particular area very well, and then to come up with a very concise branding message or marketing message for that medium and one particular avatar. So our avatar for Instagram, so we hired someone to do that with us together. Our avatar is a little bit different than the avatar that we have outside of that, because we have to trust that the person we hire has the knowledge expertise in this kind of field, so that our marketing is going to be successful. So that's the trick. You hire subject matter experts.
Yeah, no, I am such a huge fan of that. I'm so interested in learning how to do that, because when I hired an expert, we just simply found that B2B service-based, $1 million CEOs are just not interested in engaging on the social platforms, but they're okay with LinkedIn. They just were not as receptive. So I'm really interested in what your expert is doing. And so maybe we'll talk later more about that, because LinkedIn has been our go-to, just like yours. And thank God you had that group, because once the conference stages were no longer available during COVID, that's what became the stage, is the groups, right? And the events that you run for the groups. So well done. Good job. What parting advice do you have for our viewers about their marketing?
I would say that you need to look at marketing very much like anything in business. You can't look at if something doesn't work like you're a failure. You just have to look at this from a very practical perspective and say, okay, that's not working for me right now. If it's not working, not working for one out of two reasons. It's either you don't understand the platform well enough, or you're marketing the wrong way. And so it obviously, every platform works, otherwise they wouldn't exist. So you're either going to have to make a decision to learn how this platform works and get it right, or you're going to do something different. That's very simple.
Or hire someone who knows.
Or hire someone. Yeah, just don't take it personal.
Exactly. Very nice. Very nice. How do people reach you, Beate?
The best way to reach me is to go to my website at beatechelette.com. As I said, if you want to check out my offer or what I brought to your audience, go to airtightavatar.com, where you can download an ebook with literally check marks on how to figure out what your airtight avatar is. And if you've heard something that you want to talk to me about, go to uncovering.session.com. Make sure you say you found me here at the Naked Marketing Podcast, and then we'll schedule a call to talk to each other, and we'll see how I can help you to grow, build, and scale your business.
Wonderful. Thanks for being a guest.
Thank you so much for having